you come to me on this radio show to last Wednesday. And Neil, very casually during the interview, said that Journey would be headlining Lollapalooza this year. And I did not hear that. And Neil erroneously said that it was in April, which is not the case. Lollapalooza, I believe, is late July. I think that's the schedule for it in Chicago. We got Joel and Alex here today. I don't know who can hear me and who can't because Alex was having some tech issues.
I can hear you and I can talk to you. I just can't screen phone calls for some dumb reason.
All right. Well, the Lollapalooza is late July. One of you guys confirmed that, right? It's like 29.
That's correct.
I think Joel did last week when we were talking about it, or maybe not. Somebody did. Okay, so Neil, during the interview on Wednesday, said it was in April, which we know it's not. And there's no way anything at that level is happening as soon as April anyway. But I knew it was later because I know the promoters for Lollapalooza, and they told me that the first thing they are going to attempt to do this year on a large-scale basis, given the pandemic, will be Lollapalooza, that they weren't attempting anything in terms of big shows prior to late July, and they had their fingers crossed that late July would be the starting point that they could actually begin doing larger scale gatherings. So although Neil said on Wednesday, April, it actually is the end of July, but we talked about this because when he told me that, if you were listening on Wednesday, and I've been waiting to talk about this, the last 4 or 5 days, because obviously I haven't been on since last Wednesday live. But, it was like, if you heard the interview or if you go back and listen to it on the app, I even say to him, I said, wow, Lollapalooza, that's interesting because that's usually known as a pop, alternative, hip-hop themed festival. It used to be not that, but it has evolved into that over the years. Of course, it all started with Perry Farrell and that whole thing. But then again, you do notice a trend with some of these music festivals where even if they are more newer or pop or whatever music they're specializing in or doing predominantly, some of them do end up putting in there like a really iconic classic rock band, which always just looks kind of strange because you're like, that doesn't seem to fit. But they do that just to be different and hip and ironic and cutting edge and cool and whatever. Where you've got, all these current, pop, hip hop acts, whatever. And then out of nowhere, you've got some old school band that just doesn't fit. But you see them do that from time to time. And as I said, when Neil broke that news on Wednesday on this show, I said, it's interesting to be billed on something like that. But the thing about a band like Journey is that they are universally loved by so many people and have such gargantuan hits and have sold such a ridiculous amount of records that they are a band that could work on literally any festival with any demographic and any genre. Because there's nobody that doesn't know half a dozen of their songs. So I guess that's the hook and the selling point because he said they were headlining one of the days. But apparently, I don't know if Neil didn't know that wasn't supposed to be public or not yet. But the Lollapalooza lineup for 2021, assuming it happens in late July, has not yet been announced. But, Neil decided to announce his band's involvement on this show as a headliner, no less. So, I love that Neil did that, and I love that it happened on this show, and it wasn't planned, and I don't think it was intentional by him, but appreciate it happening, and that made the rounds big time in the last few days of Journey. You saw headlines anywhere. Journey to headline Lollapalooza. And thanks to the outlets who credited this show as its source. But if you go back and listen to the interview, I question him on it because I had not heard about it. And I also thought that from a billing standpoint, it was a bit curious. But then I thought about it as we went through it on the air. If you listen, and I can see how it would work. So One of the things that happened, if you didn't pay close attention and listen last week on the 3 days I was on live, is that Neil Sean came on and broke some major news about Journey. And he had said in that interview as well that they were hoping that that will be the start of them being able to go out and actually play shows. So everybody is, as has been the case for a while now, optimistically targeting the back end of the summer